Hey everybody, welcome to my weekly Periscope chat with Seopa.com, and today I'm going to talk about how to align your values, the 5 tips that I have for this. So let's get welcome. Hey guys, my name is Bobby Umar. I'm a 4-time TEDx speaker, one of Inc. Magazine's top 100 leadership speakers, and every week I do a Periscope with Seopa, Seize Your Passion, to help share my thoughts for entrepreneurs and career climbers and business leaders, all alike, to help them better seize their passion, whether it's a career or business or even in their own personal lives. So, and I see some people that I know. Hey, Susan, nice to see you there. That's awesome. And again, I'm from Toronto, Canada. Please type below where you're from, where you're coming in from, and I want to hear from you. I want to hear who you are and what you're all about. And what I'm going to talk about are the 5 ways to align your values, or just actually 5 tips that are about aligning your values. Because sometimes people's values don't align with their job or their boss or even their partner. So you want to make sure we align them in the right way. So I'm from Toronto, Canada. Tell me where you're from. Tell me what questions you have about values, what you think values are, what do values actually mean. I'm here every week at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with Seopa every Thursday. So hope you're having an amazing time getting ready for an amazing weekend with Canada Day and Independence Day coming up, and then Canada and the U.S. So we're excited about that. Let's start with the first thing. And again, if you like what you're hearing, give us some hearts, share the love. We love the hearts. Share this on Facebook, share this on Twitter. Let's get people part of the conversation. There's 10 of you now. Let's get more. Let's start with the first thing I want to talk about. The first tip about aligning your values. You have to really, really know the disconnect. How do you know that there's a values alignment disconnect? Because oftentimes we work hard and we're at our desk and we're work, and we don't realize, I got to slave away, I got to do this, work for the man, make my money, get my dollars, I'm basically, working so I can live. And that disconnect of alignment starts here. And then it starts in your head. And then pretty soon it embodies your entire soul. And you need to identify it early, because when I worked as an aerospace engineer for 4 years, I was miserable for honestly 2.5 to 3 years of that. And I didn't really notice it because I was like, well, I got to make money and I have stability and all this kind of stuff. And you have to start to see those rumblings of disconnect with your values. And you're going to see them usually with a disconnect with, well, you know what, my manager's kind of different than I am. So that's interesting. He's kind of different. That's weird. Or your colleagues, you're like, you go out to lunch with your colleagues. You're like, I'm not the same as my colleagues. We're kind of different. Like I remember going for lunch with my buddies. Hi. Welcome. I remember going for lunch with my colleagues in aerospace design engineering, and they would talk about, the latest technology or robotics or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I don't really care. I want to talk about something else. And so I wasn't into it. And so that told me that, maybe there's a bit of a disconnect with my values, and it took me 2-3 years to really figure that out. So one of the things you want to think about is that disconnect. It starts off as a slight feeling. You're not enjoying coming to work, you're not enjoying lunch, you're not enjoying your friends, you're not enjoying your boss, you're not enjoying, there's things about your passion project you're working on that's kind of stressing you out. So you have to be aware of and make sure you know that disconnect. That's the first thing about, tips about aligning your values. The second tip I want to share about how to, about aligning your values is that you need to revisit your values weekly. So make sure you actually take the time to look at your values on a yearly basis, because the truth is you change and things happen. You get married, crisis happens, and thanks for the hearts, love the hearts, share the hearts, it's good. Crisis happens, life happens, something outside happens. I know, like recently there was the tragedy, the Orlando shooting, that actually fundamentally changed me in terms of how I thought about extremism and tolerance and gun control and hate crimes and things like that. Like, wow. Now, it doesn't mean that I changed drastically, but I changed slightly. Just like, just a little bit this way. Or, you break up with somebody, or something happens at work, you get fired. I mean, so much stuff that happens in life that changes us. So you have to revisit your values yearly, if not sooner, but always be mindful of that. Every year I prioritize my list of my top 10 values. And what happens is I find that some things change. Like, a few years ago, that's right. As you grow, as you evolve, your values will change with you. When you're young, your values are more risk-taking. When you're older, your values are more appreciative of connections and things like that. So they do change. So my values changed over the years, and like I'm more caring about family needs and things like that because I have little kids. So you want to revisit them. 2 years ago, I did my personal brand assessment, and my number one value was balance. But now, when I did it again, balance became third, and my number one value is love. So it changes, it evolves. And so by knowing that, you'll be able to better align your values to whatever it is you're involved in, whether it's a passion project, your career, your business. The third thing about aligning your values, yeah, they evolve, absolutely. Well, I mean, the semantics, evolve, change, I mean, those are kind of the similar words, but yeah, they do evolve. And that evolution is a change in your fundamental values. The third thing when it comes to aligning your values is to be honest. You have to be completely honest because people are not honest. When I go through a personal brand project with anybody, the first thing I ask them is, tell me what your biggest values are. Person, tell me what your biggest values are in terms of extrinsic value, things that you, external values. And if you truly, truly, truly value money, say so. If you truly, truly, truly value power, say so. If you truly value status, say so. Because otherwise you're building up a plan or a personal brand or a project or a passion thing that's not aligned with who you are. And then of course, 2 years later, 2 months later, you'll be miserable. So one of the things that I had to do through my whole journey was I actually realized that although money wasn't important to me, I did value status. So when I worked at my job and whether I was making $60,000 or $50,000 or $80,000, that wasn't important. But I hated my job title. Like I just didn't like being called a product assistant. I wanted to be called a manager. And so knowing that really helped me figure out that, you know what, I actually do care for status. So now, like, my company, Bob Umar, President and Leadership Catalyst of Ray Allen, I love that because it makes you feel good. It feels, yeah, okay, I own this, me, baby. So status is important to me, and that's true. And so now there's other values that are also important to me too. But it's important for me to know that. So be honest, because you want to build a brand and build a path and build a passion of purpose, and you want to seize your passion with something that's aligned with who you are, not anybody else. So the first 3 things I have, and again, love the hearts. Thank you so much. If you like what you're hearing, please double tap, triple tap the hearts. Share this on Twitter and Facebook. The first 3 of my 5 tips on aligning values. Oh, this is nice. Thanks for the hearts. Number 1, know the disconnect between when your values are starting to misalign, whether it's a small disconnect or a large disconnect. Number 2, revisit your values yearly to understand how you're evolving and growing. And number 3, be very honest because you want to build something that's true and authentic and real and not fake it till you make it and something that that doesn't represent who you are. The fourth thing you want to think about when it comes to aligning your values is focus on people first. And what I mean by that is, I was in a job as an engineer and I hated my job, but it wasn't really focus more on the people. I mean, do you align with the people you work with? Do you align with your boss? Do you align with your cross-functional teams? Because if you find there's a disconnect there, that's going to be more harmful to you than the job itself. Because I could say, well, I'm analytical and maybe there's a disconnect with some of the job functions, but really it's about the people. Okay, the people is so think about people first in terms of misalignment of your values. Because if my boss he was completely different than me, and we had arguments all the time about. We argued about stupid things like his break and smoking and ethnicity and things like that. And he was such a racist. So the people are going to be a big driver of helping you understand where your values are aligned and where they're unaligned and creating that right tribe for you. Okay, so focus on people first when it comes to aligning your values. I'm not saying don't align it with your job functions or the corporate values. Yes, do that too, but you also want to make sure that the people are aligned with that. So if that makes sense to you, again, love the hearts, share that. And again, please, tell me where you're from, share your thoughts. What are some of your things? Like, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Anything you want to add? I'd love to get some more engagement, more comments on this Periscope. So that's 4. So I'm giving you 4 things. I'll give you the 5th one in a second. The 4 things that I've mentioned in terms of tips for aligning your values. Number 1, know the disconnect as soon as it starts, even the small, subtle things. Number 2, revisit your values yearly to understand the alignment or misalignment. Number 3, be honest with yourself to create alignment with stuff that's authentically you versus something else. Number 4, people first. Focus on the people that you're hanging out with, whether they're at work or your business or your passion project. Do they align with you? If they don't, then there's a disconnect there. And then finally, The fifth, and let me know what your tips are for aligning your values, but the fifth tip for aligning your values or making sure they're not misaligned is you want to also be mindful of how your values are grouped in different areas. So I'm gonna give you four areas to think about. Number one, your values when it comes to love and intimacy in your partner. Number two, your values with your friends and colleagues and family, things like that. Number three, your values when it comes to business and career. And number four, your values when it comes to your personal passion pursuits. Because just like your personal brand varies a little bit for each type of group, but also your values will vary. The values I have for my wife and my life partner are there's a lot of similarities, but there's also subtle differences between the values I want to align myself with my friends. Because so for example, my wife is very introverted, and even though I'm not, I'm extroverted. When it comes to my friends, I value friends who are more extroverted, and that's fine. That's just kind of the way it is. I value friends who are more into philosophy and things like that, and my wife maybe not be. So that's one example. The people I value in business are slightly different than my friends. The people I value with my passion pursuits, whether I'm passionate about board games. I mean, not everyone likes board games, but board game strategy is a huge passion or value of mine. So that doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be my partner or my friends or my business colleagues. So if you understand how your values are grouped in different ways, that'll help you. And also think about the different types of values, because there's different types. There's extrinsic value, things like money and status. There's also intrinsic values, things that make you feel good, give you warm fuzzies, like appreciation, acknowledgement, accommodation, flexibility, things like that. And then of course there's lifestyle values. So a fast-paced lifestyle, a downtown lifestyle, a rural lifestyle, whatever that is. So knowing what those things are will really, really help you. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions or comments and you want to join me next week, please do. I love hearing from you. I love to get your feedback. I love to get your comments. Follow me at Rehan Bobby. Check out my website, Rehan.com. Check out Seoba.com/stream for all the amazing videos. Share your own videos. We're here every week at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for my weekly Seopa Periscope for you guys. So the 5 things to review. Tips on aligning your values. Number 1, know the disconnect, particularly the really subtle ones, as it starts to create a little pain in your body. Number 2, revisit your values yearly, because as you evolve, change, and grow. Number 3, be honest about creating values and aligning values that are authentically you. Number 4, look at people first in terms of how your values align or misalign, because it's the people that are going to make a difference in terms of how you see your passion. And then finally, group your values. So make sure you know the different extrinsic, intrinsic, and lifestyle values. Also know how your values are different between your people, your lover, your partner, your friends, your business colleagues, your family, and your passionate pursuits. So I hope you liked that. I hope you enjoyed this. Again, share this with people. Share the recording. We'd love to hear from you, and I wish you all the best. If I don't see you next week, happy Canada Day for my Canadian friends tomorrow. Happy 4th of July to my American friends and everyone else. Peace, love, and light, and have an amazing day. Talk soon. Bye-bye.